It's time for Herd Mentality, the weekly episode where you control the discussion today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Tuesday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day. And as a reminder to you, we are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/lockedon and get on your way to being your best self. Well, guys, it's Tuesday. You know the drill. We're going to do herd mentality, have tons of great stuff to get into coming off of the loss to the Jets. I do want to note that I am recording this at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time on Monday afternoon, which is several hours before we're scheduled to hear from Sean McDermott. And so if McDermott has a big update about Josh Allen's injury with his elbow, I don't know about it as of the recording of this podcast. All right, let's get into your questions and comments. The first one comes from Bub, and Bub says, Gabriel Davis largely increased his contested catch percentage and drastically lowered his drop percentage last year. Can we get an update on those metrics for this seemingly disappointing 2022? Yes, you absolutely can, and I'm glad you brought this up because this was one of the big things that I talked about coming out of last year was the growth areas for Gabriel Davis coming out of his rookie season into year two. And you're going to see in those two metrics in particular, contested catch percentage and drop rate, they're back down to where you don't want those numbers to be. So we'll start with contested catch. As a rookie in 2020, he came away with 25% of his contested catch opportunities. He was 4 of 16. In 2021, phenomenal, 77%, 10 of 13. So far in 2022, he's 3 of 12, 25%. So right back to where he was as a rookie. 3 of 12, 25%. Gabe Davis, 2022 contested catch rate. His drop rate in 2020, he dropped 11.4% of his targets. In 2021, he brought that down to 8.2%. And in 2022, this year, up to 14.3%. So those numbers are not where you need them to be. And in the case of drop rate, it's worse than his rookie season. And his contested catch rate is right back where it was as a rookie. The next one comes from Justin. And I got a lot of questions about Odell Beckham Jr. And so we're going to get into it right here through Justin's questions. Justin says, I'm officially worried about our receivers minus 14. Diggs had more receiving yards than Davis, Knox, and McKenzie against the Jets. Diggs seems to be the only one who is having a better year than last year. Davis only has 18 catches in almost half a season. Knox doesn't make any big plays. I would remind you of the game-winning touchdown against the Chiefs. McKenzie isn't a starting slot receiver, and he shouldn't be on the field. Looks like OBJ is a necessity, not a luxury. Joe, do we need to address receiver in the draft? What are your thoughts about our receivers minus 14? Let me talk about Knox real quick because I think it's fair to, and we're going to get into Knox a little bit more in the next question. But when you say he doesn't make any big plays, I don't think you beat Baltimore without him. And obviously the game winner against the Chiefs. I think for Knox, it just comes down to opportunity. And for a $14 million a year tight end, he should be getting a lot more opportunity. We'll get into that in just a minute. But yes, outside of Stephon Diggs, as I talked about on the podcast yesterday, the Bills aren't getting enough at receiver. Gabriel Davis is not thriving as the wide receiver too. His limitations as a player are showing up. And we're learning that he was a beneficiary, like I've talked about for years. He was a beneficiary of the role that he played in this offense as kind of that fourth, fifth option with a quarterback like Josh Allen. And so as he moved up the ladder, the limitations didn't go away. The opportunity increased, and you still have kind of a situation here where he's not a do-everything enough player to give you the answer that you need opposite of Diggs. Isaiah McKenzie's never been a starting slot receiver in the NFL. Jamison Crowder, I think, is missed by this team right now. And yes, one of my key points on the podcast yesterday that I still feel strong about today is that the Bills don't have enough or aren't getting enough in the passing game from the weapons that aren't named Stephon Diggs. And so this really does kind of turn the attention to Odell Beckham Jr. And I don't really need to get into a whole lot about the hype that's there and the Von Miller stuff and how it's been a talking point since July. And I would say this. I am very interested, and the Bills should be very interested. But it comes with a little dose of reality, in my opinion. And the reality of inserting a weapon into your offense in December, right? It's just a hard ask for a guy that's never taken a rep with the quarterback, who's never played in the system, to come in December and provide this number 2 role that we feel this offense strongly needs right now. It's a big ask for a guy that hadn't had a normal onboarding situation, not just not having an off season, but rehabbing instead, not being in a playbook, not developing timing with an offense and a quarterback. And so I'm very interested, and I think the Bills should do it, but it doesn't come without that dose of reality that I'm mindful of. And then there's the whole salary component. And what do you want to commit to Odell Beckham Jr.? It sounds like he's trying to leverage this opportunity into a multi-year deal. So it's not necessarily a rest of this year type situation. It's looking like he's wanting a payday here for a couple of seasons. Are you ready to give that to him? Do you feel like that's responsible? Do you feel like you want to see him in your building with your quarterback in your offense before you do that? Be nice, but if Odell Beckham's going to say, hey, I know the Packers need me, I know the Cowboys need me, I know the Rams need me, maybe the Giants, maybe the Chiefs, Buffalo, who's going to give me the most guaranteed money over the longest period of time? He's got some leverage right now because it's not just the Bills. So there's a lot to think about there. But I do think he can be the do-everything number 2 receiver that this offense needs, as opposed to specialized players like Gabriel Davis and Isaiah McKenzie being relied upon to be the 2 and to be the slot. Let's move on to Mike's question, where we'll get into some Dawson Knox stuff here. Mike says, I wanted to ask specifically about Dawson Knox's usage. I thought his borderline invisibility in the offense was because he was being asked to stay in and block more, but the numbers don't really seem to reflect that. His route percentage was 70% going into Sunday, and that was 77% on Sunday. We've since got the numbers since Mike sent this in, and his target rate is 10%. On Sunday, it was 12%. So he's going into routes on more than 70% of the plays that he's on the field for passing downs, and he's being targeted around 10, 11% of the time. Mike continues to say, that suggests that he's either not getting open or that he's way down the list in terms of Josh's progressions. I thought the big contract signaled an uptick in usage for him, but it hasn't played out that way so far. Maybe Bean and Dorsey aren't on the same page. Is he not playing well, or is it just a design thing? Well, I'm glad you brought up the numbers here, because it is important to note that, no, he's not just being asked to stay in and block at such a high clip that he's not able to produce in the passing game. He's running routes on over 70% of the passing plays. He's only staying in to block at about 10% of the time. The reality is the Bills have to prioritize getting him the football more. And I think there's something for Ken Dorsey to answer there, and there's something for Josh Allen to answer there. Because this is a $14 million a year player, and I know that he's a good player, but you don't commit to him that type of money for this to be a 2 or 3, maybe 4 targets a game guy. I think Dawson Knox is capable of handling that volume, and you can get him going in traditional ways. It doesn't have to be a cherry on top. It can be a part of what you do. And so if I'm the Bills, one of my priorities moving forward is I'm looking for my offense to find some consistency to get out of a slump is I'm going to lean into my $14 million a year tight end in Dawson Knox. I think he has to be a higher priority for Ken Dorsey, and I think that makes him a higher priority for Josh Allen and the progressions and all those types of things. When you're looking for more help outside of Stephon Diggs, I'm looking towards my $14 million a year tight end, and I'm not sure it's anything that Dawson Knox is doing. I think it's order of progression and prioritization of his role in the offense. Justin says, Joe, I see some calling our offensive line suspect. I thought they have played well this year. The Jets D-line is very good. I think they do that to a lot of teams. And are you more concerned with the last 6 quarters of offense more than the Jets' loss in itself? 100%. So let me start there. Yes, I'm more concerned about the way the team played over the last 6 quarters than the fact that they lost the game to the Jets. You hate to be 0-2 in the division. You do. But you get to play these guys again. You get to play Miami again. You control your own destiny. I'm more concerned with how the offense has played and the lack of consistency outside of Stephon Diggs and lack of ability to have a consistent rushing offense when you need it and the boneheaded decisions that Josh Allen is making. Those are the things that I'm concerned about. Yeah, you'd love to win the game, but it's more important the why behind it. And that's what gives me a level of concern right now. This offense has to wake up. It has to play better. And that's going to make the entire team better, which we'll start to get into here in the next couple segments here. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. So when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient, secure, and accessible anywhere, 100% online. We've all had situations in life where we need someone to talk to, and I encourage everyone to be open to therapy. Everyone deserves to feel their best, and BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist, and if things aren't clicking with you and that therapist, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. It couldn't be simpler. There's no waiting rooms. There's no traffic. There's no endless searching for the right therapist. Get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. We all know when it comes to sports, teamwork is everything. Every player on the field has their role that contributes to helping their team win. And honestly, it's the same when it comes to game day snacking. Whether it's making the dip or bringing the chips, everyone has their role. And if it's you bringing the chips, let me tell you, I'm about to make you the MVP because Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are out here changing the game. These are the best tortilla chips on the planet. My wife and I, we love them. Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are delicious. They're crunchy. They're made to dip. You never have to worry about them breaking in half when dunking them in guacamole. And I also love that they're grown from organic Flint corn in upstate New York. So be the hero of this week's tailgate and grab a bag of Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips at your local Wegmans. Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips, making you the MVP. The next one today comes from Rich. Rich says, I know the obvious problem was the offense, and they are most responsible for the loss. But one thing that really confuses me is the way that Frazier and McDermott runs the defense at times. The Bills stuck with their nickel package all game, even while getting gashed on the ground, and seemed content giving Zach Wilson easy throws. This resulted in I believe, 3 7 to 8 minute drives as the Jets were chewing up clock all game. Do you have a problem with Frazier and McDermott's game plan like myself, or do you more just chalk it up to a lack of execution on the defensive side? Well, I think the Bills have told us, and they've been a high caliber defense every year under McDermott and Frazier, being a base nickel defense. This is what they are. They're a 4-2-5. I mean, that's just what they are. And most of the time, it's fine. And in reality, like I said yesterday, I took exception with a lot of things that happened defensively, but they limited the Jets to 20 points, and they came up with the stops necessary to give the Bills offense multiple chances to win the game. It was 14-3. And the offense couldn't keep it going. They couldn't sustain scoring drives. They couldn't get out of their own way. The best helper to a defense, the best way to improve your run defense is by having a good offense. And that's going to be critical against the Vikings and the Browns. Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb. You better figure out how to stop the run here in a hurry. And that may include some schematic adjustments, especially against these teams like the Vikings and Browns that don't have the depth of pass catchers. We'll get into them, in their respective weeks. But this isn't a game where if you want to play another linebacker, you should think twice about it. You should do it. If you feel like you have to get bigger up front, you should do it. We saw the Bills at times be willing to do that against Tennessee this year. Last year against the Patriots, they've shown that. And so I'm interested to see, Milano back, right? Hopefully this week, Edmonds. And then I'd like to see Tyrel Dodson as that third guy. I think he's a significantly better player than Terrell Bernard. So I'm not as concerned with the way that they play defense. I'm concerned with how they've played offense and how that has impacted the defense of late. And we're talking about 6 quarters, folks. So let's keep that in perspective. Like I said yesterday, it's never a straight line. We are putting a lot of stock into this, and we should to a degree, but there's a lot of ball game left. There's a lot of season left. Every team is presented problems that they have to figure out during the year, and this is where the Bills are at with this at this current point in time. So I would be more willing to have some heavier fronts, but the Bills at times have been reluctant to do that. I think when you, at your core, you play defense a certain type of way, and you're used to fitting the run a certain type of way, when you deviate from that, it introduces some new questions. At the end of the day, the Bills have kind of bowed up, and while they've given up some yards, they haven't given up a lot of points. Again, 20 points. I need Josh Allen to lead the team to more than 17 points against the Jets. You got to score more than 3 in the second half against the Packers, or else we're going to feel this type of way. You want to help your defense, play better on offense, especially when the problem isn't passing against you, it's running. The next one here comes from Alex, and this is going to kind of build off of Rich's question and my answer to Rich's question. Alex says, "Hi, Joe. Wondering if you could talk about missed tackles on herd mentality. I know the Bills started the year stronger than in years past, but the amount of missed tackles the last 2 games has propelled them down to the bottom of the league. It's been awful, and I think it's a huge reason why the run defense has taken a turn for the worse." Yes, Alex. Yes, Alex. Yes, Alex. Michael Carter. Michael Carter. A good player, but he's not the second coming of Derrick Henry. 6.08 yards after contact per rush against the Buffalo Bills. That's an incredible amount of yards to average per carry, much less it exclusively being the amount of additional yards that you get after contact. They missed 12 tackles against the Jets. And yes, this has been a problem that has gotten progressively worse this year. I'm going to go game by game right now and give you the amount of missed tackles that they had per game. Week 1 against the Rams, 6. The Tennessee game, 4. Miami in week 3, 3. Baltimore, 14. Pittsburgh, 8. Kansas City, 12. Green Bay, 16. The Jets, 12. Not good enough. The most basic function of an offense is tackling. Now, you want to fit the run, you want to take on blocks, you want to cover, all that stuff, but you got to tackle. And conceding additional yardage to these teams at this high of a clip, it's going to make it hard. So you want to minimize the production against you and give up less yards to opponents rushing the football, tackle them when you get a chance. Tackle them when you get a chance. And I'm going to go right now, and I'm going to give you the missed tackle percentage for every player on the defense. A.J. Epinesa misses 71% of his tackle attempts. Saran Neal, 28%. Tim Settle, 25%. Jordan Phillips, 25%. Von Miller, 25%. Dane Jackson, 19%. Shaq Lawson, 18%. Christian Benford, 17%. Daquan Jones, 17%. Kyer Elam, 15%. Jordan Poyer, 14%. Damar Hamlin, 13.5%. Gregory Rousseau, 13%. Jaquan Johnson, 13%. Matt Milano, 12.5%. Micah Hyde missed one tackle this year, 12.5%. Taron Johnson, 11.5%. Boogie Basham, 11%. Ed Oliver, 11%. And I think I can live with, I want you to be around 10%. I'd like you to be under 10%. Who's under 10%? Tyrell Dodson, 9%. Oh, here's a name for you. Tremaine Edmonds, 7.7%. Terrell Bernard, 5.9% in limited opportunities. Too many missed tackles. And there you go. There's your biggest offenders. When you talk about volume, I mean, tons of missed tackles from the defensive line. Dane Jackson, 19%, not good enough. Kyer Elam, 15%, not good enough. Jordan Poyer, 14%, not good enough. Damar Hamlin, 13.5%. Matt Milano, 12.5%. I love Matt Milano, but it's been a problem his entire career. Taron Johnson, around 11%. We can live with that if the other guys weren't hanging out 15% and higher. Bill's got to get better at tackling. It's been a problem every year under Sean McDermott, and it's getting worse this year. They fooled us there for a few weeks, and I think I came out and said that this is the best tackling defense that Sean McDermott's ever had, and boy, oh boy, has he made me look silly. That's got to get better in a hurry here. I hope that you've been getting in on the action over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is my favorite daily fantasy resource. How does it work? You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. And PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you can watch. That includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college sports, you name it. You can find it over at PrizePicks. And entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. So if you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match worth up to $100. All right, we got some more to get to here today. Some good stuff. Next one comes from Karen. Karen says, games like the last one make my old feelings as a Bills fan come roaring back, that the Bills are going to implode and we don't have the team we thought we did. Even though I never expected us to go the rest of the season without another loss, the way we lost makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel that at the beginning of the season, Josh was patient and didn't mind taking the short passes to move down the field. Now it seems like he's back to always looking for the long ball. I'd be interested in comparing the length of the attempted passes in the first 2 games of the season versus the last 2 played. Have we abandoned the short pass? And if so, why do you think that is? I'm missing Beasley, and I don't feel McKenzie has become the slot receiver we thought he was going to be during the preseason. Thanks for your time, Joe. Love your show. And it is it time for a mid-season update on Rebecca Jean? Your pics on Instagram are the cutest. Well, thank you, Karen. I will give you a Rebecca Jean update here in just a minute. It's always a good time to tuck that in during a herd mentality coming off of a loss. So we'll get to that in just a second. But kind of the root of your question was Josh Allen chasing some throws down the field and not taking some of the underneath stuff that we saw him more willing to take earlier in the season. A couple thoughts here. I don't have the data in front of me right now to answer that and say, hey, in weeks 1 and 2, it was his average throw was this far. In the last several weeks, it's this far. I will say this, though. He had some deep throws in that game against the Jets that if the Bills connected on, they probably win the game. You know, when Diggs gave him the, I'm open signal down this field, Josh underthrew that ball. He had him. That was going to be a big play. He had him. He overthrew Nyheim Hines on the wheel. So there were some deep throws in that game that, man, Josh just missed him. He missed the throw. And the result would have been different. And heck, if Gabe Davis catches that last play, the Bills at least tie it, right? Would have been around the 20 or 15-yard line or something like that. Man. But anyways, I think there is something to be said for at least the way I feel about your question. I think there's some truth to it. I mean, the Bills and Josh Allen he's been awesome throwing the ball down the field this year. Like, there's been such good results. But yes, I do think that more of the quick hitting stuff, the route combinations, the stuff that we saw early, it's not been there as consistently, right? And I thought when that was the case, it helped get everyone more involved. I didn't feel this way early in the season. I wasn't talking about players not named Stephon Diggs contributing, right? I think coming out of that Rams game, it was more like, I can't believe how many players Josh Allen targeted and got the football to. And so, yeah, I think some of that coming back, making it a little easier, is a good thing. Now, as for the Rebecca Jean update, she is doing great. She turns 3 years old in January. And for those of you who don't know who Rebecca Jean is, that's my daughter. My wife and I, we have a daughter. Her name is Rebecca Jean. Again, she turns 3 in January, and she is awesome. She has tons of energy and tons of personality. Really a ton of both of those things. I'm really surprised by the conversations that I have with her at this point. I didn't know how quickly, she would have so many opinions and desires. She wants to pick out her clothes. She's very opinionated on what she eats. She fights bath time sometimes. She likes to. Sometimes she will say, "Daddy, you're mean. You're mean. Don't do that. Don't." Like, I didn't even do anything. I'm just like walked by her or something like that. So she's got some of that about her. I will say, but ton of energy, keeps us busy. She loves the Wizard of Oz. Right now, that's her big thing. She went to the land of Oz in the North Carolina mountains, and she came back and she loves it. She's probably watching Wizard of Oz like on repeat all the time. And so that's a big thing that she's into right now. She loves doing puzzles, which has been really cool. Not like I would guess like 20 pieces. And I've been getting her tons of those because she enjoys them so much, and she's doing really, really well. We love doing those together. She loves LOL dolls. Have you guys seen these things? Those are all over my house at all times. So she's awesome. She wants to go to the park 24 hours a day. So we're going to actually this afternoon, when I get done recording this podcast and I'm done for the day, that's where we'll be headed. She's very busy. She goes to preschool 5 days a week. She has a swim lesson once a week. She's in dance class. She loves all those things. She's an unbelievable communicator. Like I said, I can have any conversation in the world that I need to with her. Potty training is going great. She's really buying into that. So that's been an awesome development kind of lately here. Her diet consists of spaghetti, chicken, fruit, bread, and ice cream, and not a whole lot else. So she's, I guess she's a girl, right? Sweets and carbs. That's what she enjoys. And she's recently made the transition to a big girl bed. We got her a bedroom set, and she loves that. So it's been a lot of development, a lot of progress. She's awesome. She's happy. She's energetic. And we love it. We love being parents, and we love that little girl. And she loves the Bills. I will say that. She'll walk into my office, and I have an open door policy. She's allowed to come in here anytime that she wants, unless I'm recording. And she'll come in and she'll say, "Daddy, I want to watch Josh Allen." So we do. We put it on, and she knows his best friend's name is Diggs. And it's funny because I watch a lot of football that's not the Bills. Like, I probably watch more football that's not the Bills than I do the Bills. And every time that I'm watching a game that's not the Bills, she goes, "Daddy, where's Josh Allen? Where's Josh Allen?" And we'd say, well, he's playing with his dog or he's practicing or something like that. But Josh Allen lives rent-free in the minds of everyone in this household, including our near 3-year-old Rebecca Jean. So thanks for asking about her. She's doing great. And I love talking about her. So don't hesitate to ask for those updates in the future. Next one comes from Jake. Jake says, you talked a lot about player performances on your pod. What do you think of Ken Dorsey's game plan and play calling the last 2 weeks? Are we seeing the struggles we expected at the beginning of the year with the transition to a new offensive coordinator? Maybe. That's how I'll answer this, and I know that's a bad answer, but like maybe. Whenever I read this question and prepared to talk about it on the podcast, I thought to myself, where on the list of concerns does Ken Dorsey and play calling fall in the way that I feel about the Bills offense? Not very high, I'll be honest with you. It's really not. I really don't have much of an issue with his play calls, his game plans, anything like that. I think my frustration more comes from the lack of players stepping up around Allen and Diggs. And then Josh Allen himself with what are these turnovers? What are they, dude? I feel good about that getting figured out. I really do. But with the 4 interceptions that he's thrown over the last 2 games kind of lingering right now, I mean, palms to the air. What the heck, man? You know, like, what are you doing, bud? And Josh knows it. I have a lot of confidence in him to get that figured out. You know that he cares about it, and he's more pissed than any of us about those interceptions. But honestly, when I think about this Bills offense and the issues and struggles maybe that it's having right now, and let's keep in mind, we're talking about like they might still be number 1 in the NFL in yards and scoring. They're at least top 3 in both. You know, we're talking about a really good NFL offense. I just don't find myself leaning into Ken Dorsey as my culprit or something that is overly bothering me right now. Paul says, here's one for herd mentality. Would it be crazy to reach out to Cole Beasley? We need help at receiver and especially in the slot. I know he asked to be released and is now retired after a brief stint with Tampa, but I think he can help us. I say bring him and OBJ in. Your thoughts? I like the idea of Cole Beasley. I really do. But I don't like Cole Beasley right now, right? I mean, he wanted off this team. He's not said good things about the team since he left. He's a petty ex-girlfriend right now. That's what he feels like. And I don't have time for that. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think a player like Cole Beasley, sure. But I don't think it can be Cole Beasley based on his desire to be released, him retiring, and the things he said. I feel very relieved to not have to associate with Cole Beasley anymore, to be completely honest with you. Last one comes from Brian, and Brian has a very, very important question for me. And this comes from the Locked On Bills Twitter community. So if you are on Twitter, find the Locked On Bills Twitter community and join it. Brian said, put a poll in there. He wants me to chime in on the podcast, and here we will. And I guess it's my favorite or my preference in terms of Josh Allen's appearance. And my options are clean-shaven Josh, mustachioed Josh, and beard scruff Josh. And I can say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Josh Allen's best look is beard scruff Josh. I know the guy's a little patchy, but mustached Josh ain't it, and clean-shaven Josh just looks a little too young for me. So give me that beard scruff Josh. I think that's his best look, and certainly the way he's played with this mustache, you can send that to the moon for sure. All right, folks, that's it for today on the podcast. Hope you enjoyed. Tomorrow we're going to start talking about the Minnesota Vikings and really get into the weeds with them and talk about the challenges that they present and what the Bills need to do to deal with them. So come on back. Make sure that you're subscribed. We'd love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.